Good morning, my name is Kirsty Dignam and I'm here to talk about the energies this week with today's Monday's Musings. The date is the 24th of March and I find it quite interesting that in my own words I've suggested that I'm here to talk about the energies rather than to look into them. It feels quite key. I've noticed this week in particular, I know a lot of things are going backwards with Mercury and Venus still going backwards, or in retrograde rather, and that feels important to be very aware that it's not that we're going backwards, that things have stopped, that they are pausing, that they're giving us an opportunity to look at a more vast perspective of what is occurring, ourselves included, particularly how we talk about the energies, how we look into the energies, recognizing how we talk about the energies obviously affects what we see, right? When I first turned on the camera today, nothing was coming and I felt quite uncomfortable sat in that lack of awareness, or what felt like a lack of awareness. All the time I relied on what was familiar. This last week I have been very aware of quote unquote signs that would normally really help me navigate the answers that I seek, almost being an illusion. But they're not an illusion. It is an invitation to not get confused with the background noise of how we have interpreted things up until this point. An example, I went to look at a flat this weekend and it had all the synchronicities of being the one. But it wasn't. In my instinct, in my intuition, it wasn't. The signs that were there weren't inaccurate. They've grown. My ability to read them has grown. And if I continue, like us all, to look at something the way that it once was, we may not get the answers that we are actually seeking this week as we lead into the solar eclipse. Now I feel like I want to smile. It's quite trippy, trickster, Heyoka type energy this week. And I can really feel it. I don't know about anyone else, but in my chest, in particular, in my heart. There is a huge heart opening occurring. Even my screen is wobbling. A wonderful opportunity to allow things to move around us, but to stay firm and solid in who we are. I've always trusted signs. I've always trusted communication with the universe since I was a child. And it isn't that I couldn't trust it this week. What I was being asked to do is to really feel into my own conversations above that externally, even from what I deem to be the universe or spirit. It is that that's opening within us all. There is an energy rising within us all that is, I've heard, been linked over the last weekend to dragons, to ley lines, to Atlantis, to Lemuria, to lots of different things coming up in our consciousness. But none of it means shit if we don't know what's going on for us. None of it means anything if we don't understand where we are feeling things from and seeing things from. I find it interesting, the deck that I'm going to use this week, I'll get back to the conversations, but the deck that I'm going to use this week is the second one in a row that the Seven of Pentacles, which is known for growth and stability, is portrayed in a less than positive light. In this deck it's known as depletion, and in the deck that I used last week it was known as failure. When I tapped into that before the reading today, the card that came up was the Four of Cups. It was abundance. There's a emotional dissonance, if you will. I wanted to say resonance, but it isn't a resonance. It's a dissonance with what once helped us to grow. What once helped us to expand doesn't anymore, and our body knows that. Our body can feel that. And this is where I bring the ultimate energy that is rising this week in particular as we go into the eclipse, the definition between chaos and conflict. The recognition that chaos itself is change, and we may feel that rising quite intensely within us as our own intuitive actions start to take on a new level of awareness, a new level of manifestation, a new level of connection, as we start to really see the impact that how we see things can affect the world around us. It may feel chaotic. All the time we are in conflict with what we are feeling. And why would we be in conflict with what we are feeling? Because we are trying to control it. We have conflict because we believe something should be a certain way. And all the time we believe something should be a certain way, we are trying to control the outcome. That's not to say we are without any input here, but it is an opportunity to really go back into the heart space, to really look at how aligned the mind is, in particular with what is going on with our creativity, our womb space, our connection to the earth, to the feminine, to these powers that are rising. And when I say feminine, I don't mean gender. I don't even mean masculine. I don't mean any of that. I mean creation. I mean life itself. And it's that that's moving through us if we allow it. Every time there's a shift in energy, we are going to feel that. We are going to feel every time our actions become more intuitively led, we are going to feel the potential of change. And much as we may have wanted this change, it's still change. And our body can be aware of that. This week, we're being guided to look at how we react to change itself and to really see how that can affect what has or hasn't been growing in our life, ourselves included. The body can feel when something is shifting. If it is used to doing that from a place of fear, for whatever reason, there's going to be resistance there, there's going to be conflict there, and in that conflict there's going to be a need for control, and in that need for control there's going to be repression or oppression, and in that there's going to be much needed chaos to shift the direction that things are headed. Because as we go into next year, it is all about change. But it isn't just about external change. It's about our own ability to create change. That starts from within. Some of the depletion, some of the things not growing how we would like is because the emphasis has been put externally. Now, as I say, I'm going to talk about the energies. That feels quite different from the normal type of reading, so we'll see how that comes through. Normally I say I'm going to look into the energies. It feels important to recognize it's one thing to look at something. It's another to really feel into the conversation that is occurring or perhaps needs to occur. On a global scale, of course, but on an individual scale also. To look at why we're given the abilities that we're given, why we're given the gifts that we're given, why would we be given the ability to see what could potentially happen, not just from tarot cards, but within our own body as well. Why are we given this innate sense of our environment? Is it to shelter, to cower, to seek answers to be given to us, or is it to find them within based on how we're going to react to that environment? The other thing I noticed today, my camera, this end is very light and I kept trying to turn it down, believing that it would affect how other people would see this recording. But of course, it is my camera, this end. How we see light, the amount of light that we see, isn't dictated by how others see us. That's the other thing that's really coming through this week, acknowledging there are many versions of who we have been to fit our environment. We talk about people pleasing and, not quite being authentic, but having that compassion to recognize why we may have done that. More than that, having the divine wisdom to know that that has actually helped us shapeshift, survive, adapt to our environment, and as a result change our environment. Balancing up what has seemed a wound with the medicine within which it comes. Which one are we focusing more on? Do we have harmony between the two? One of the things I discovered this week about myself is a lot of the things, an example, I have a wound of not being seen. And a lot of the things I have done have been based upon that wound, trying to quote unquote heal it. However, this week I've been really shown what was there before the wound. The advantage of being invisible, the advantage of walking within hidden realms, of seeing languages that not everybody will see. This week I share that because it's an opportunity to look at what was there before the wound. What was there before whatever happened and stopped us being who we were. restoring some of that balance by taking every opportunity to step into that energy now. Because that's how we allow the healing. That's how we restore the harmony of what was lost. Anything else? It feels important not to get too caught up in our own individual stories this week and amalgamate them within the collective, to be very mindful of that. We have a solar eclipse at the end of the week, and the song for the solar eclipse, I've just roughly written the blog, and the song for the solar eclipse, I'm itching my third eye, is the final countdown. Okay, so a lot of things are happening that we knew were going to happen, and a lot of things are occurring because they are a swift kick up the jacksie to see where we have been hiding or eclipsing our own light. In order to do that, yes, expect some times of darkness. Embrace these times of darkness. With the dark night of the soul, with shadow work, the more we fight it, the more we place artificial light in there, and I'll get to the artificial intelligence in a minute, the more we place artificial light in a place that needs to be held and embraced within the darkness, the void of potential, the longer it's going to take. So this week, finding a way to feel safe enough, bit by bit, be it joy, be it love, be it nurture, whatever it is you need, nature, dancing. Gosh, the amount of dancing I've done this week is unreal outside because it's been intense. Whatever it is you need this week to be with that darkness in order for the light to return. Amongst that will be the cold hard truth of the times that we have eclipsed our own light. Artificial intelligence. I shared something today on Instagram about not believing everything that you see. And artificial intelligence, as we know it with the technology, of course, there are many ways of advertising things. There are many ways of skewing our perception. However, being aware of our own artificial intelligence as well. There's a big difference between science and wishful thinking. This flat this week, oh, I'm so at the point of wanting to know where I'm going to live because it's the unknown. So the kestrel flying above, yes, absolutely, was a sign, a new beginning, wonderful. That's what I wanted it to be. My body didn't feel that. My body felt the deeper message of this winged messenger to see beyond what was obvious, to take a higher vantage view of what was occurring. And when I did that, so much more came through about what I needed to hear regarding that flat and my own circumstances in life at that point. So this week, acknowledging that if we are getting bored, if we are lacking abundance in the emotional wisdom that we are seeking, in the creativity that we long for, in the growth that we are yearning for, where have we been eclipsing our own light? By making something synchronistic or a sign or a intuitive message when it may not be that way. It may still have roots in the message that you're seeking, because that's the thing. When we ask for something, you know, when you long for a red car, eventually you'll see red cars. That is a scientific aspect of our own perception. However, does this align with what I'm feeling on a deeper level? Is this helping me to expand how I see the world around me, how I create the world around me? Am I looking into the energy, or am I having a conversation with this communication between myself and the universe? Am I creating, or am I manifesting? There is a difference. There's going to be an individual difference for everybody, based on what it is you need to break through, based on what it is that's been keeping you safe. Even that leaves me intrigued. And that's the thing, acknowledging we don't all have the answers in any given moment. Having fun with that. I know it's not easy, especially when this energy is intense, but this energy is intense. I've done a lot of work over the last few weeks with wildlife centres and with animals, and every time I go in and expect, you know, to do the healings or whatever, I feel as if it's going to be too much because I'm caging this energy. And the wisdom that they've shared for me is it's only ever too much when we are trying to domesticate what we would call the Salka, when we are trying to control, whether that's with something just come right in, whether that's with our beliefs, our opinions, our views, our fear. I was sharing with a dear friend of mine the other day that I'm not quite sure how to navigate sometimes the energy, the masculine and feminine united that's coming up within me, because I have yet to see a role model that I wish to follow. And we may find that this week, that everyone we seek guidance from with this energy that's rising isn't quite hitting the mark, because it's down to us to find our own way. We can only do that by coming into the body, by feeling what is happening. The reason we're avoiding that collectively is there's a repetition there. The reason we are avoiding that is because a lack of wanting to do the work, wanting answers without the experience, without knowing that it's the experience that forms knowledge. I've said it before, I'll say it again. There's a big difference between knowledge and wisdom. Okay, so the difference is the experience. We only gain that by going through something. We are not going to be able to avoid the changes within and around us. It is about going through them. Even though that feels intense, it's that that's going to give the growth. It's that that's going to give that sense of abundance, that we have been part of what we are creating. We have been part of what we are seeking. We have been part of what we are going through, rather than disassociated from our own divinity. Okay, so energies this week and how to best navigate them. The focus comes back to us. There's a real temptation to talk about external things, okay? But the focus comes back to us this week. I hear, what are we avoiding? And actually I wanted to avoid saying that. So for me personally, I'm avoiding being cutthroat. I'm avoiding getting to the point, because that can be quite, I deem that as quite harsh. However, really feeling into what we are avoiding, our stories behind it, but recognizing the skills and gifts that can come through from opening ourselves up to that, beyond what we've experienced through others. Yes, I have often found that quite harsh and quite painful. Doesn't mean I'm going to be the same way. Doing so with curiosity this week, opening yourself up to something that's not even different, branching out from where you are. In order to do that, it's necessary to make space. Necessary to make space this week. There is no going forward with carrying all of this. Prioritization is the key. Okay, so now we're going to look into the energies this week and how to best navigate them, and that feels quite important, to compartmentalize things, to break things down. When I came into reading the video this week, to say that I was just looking into the energies without discussing them, for me that wouldn't work. Everybody is different, but you know, what are you hoping to gain by looking into energy? What are you hoping to gain by discussing whatever is going on? What are you hoping to gain with what it is you're trying to create? Look into that. Converse with that. How ready does your body feel for that? What about your environment and the circumstances around you? What can be put in place now? That's the other thing with tarot readings. I had someone ask me for a tarot reading the other day. There's a reason I call them empowerment readings, because it's not just about seeing what the potential is, but helping get to that place. So again, we're seeing things, and what is that going to do to our current position? How is that changing the impact that we are having, or that is being had on us this week? Interesting, because we actually have the Five of Pentacles and the Ace of Water, but they're both upside down. So we have insecurity and we have the Ace of Pentacles. The cards that I'm using are called the Vision Quest. All of that insecurity there, all of that love, all of that creative abundance, all of that connection just flowing out through us. And the insecurity that comes with that. So the Five of Pentacles is actually upside down as well. So the feeling of holding all of that back, trying to keep it all in so that we have enough, the feeling of needing to control that divine connection, that love, wisdom, that feminine, is what's actually leaving us insecure. Eventually we're going to want more than we are giving, because we're a continuous system. We're going to want to give more, because that's going to give us more. Boundaries are wonderful. Boundaries are a really healthy aspect of relationships. That doesn't mean they stop the flow. Boundaries don't stop the flow. If anything, they help restore balance. So really looking at that this week. Underneath it, we have the Lovers. All is a choice. However, the rest of the deck, a big chunk of the deck, are actually upside down. How can we make a choice when everything feels so unclear? Let's turn them up the right way. Put them back in the pack. That is the energy that's coming up. Well, we're in eclipse energy at the moment. So acknowledging that things are going to be unclear. They're going to be uncertain. It's not about making choices for decades down the line. Let's bring it back to basics. Let's make some decisions in each moment. Let's regain the power of presence until things start to lighten up. Presence itself, I said it in last week's video, by coming back into that moment, it's that actually lightens things up. Too much is being carried into this eclipse. Too much is being carried. So coming back, allowing the uncertainty to give us insight into what we are certain about. You know, coming back to what it is we actually do have, what it is we actually do love, what it is we actually do find fulfilling, because that's going to give us the certainty and the clarity that we're searching for anyway, because it's that we're going to take forward. It's not necessarily about bringing in new things, and that's the other, I want to say, danger this week. I can hear the song Danger, Danger, High Voltage. There are some really high energies coming in. Again, that screen wobbling, keeping our center ground. It's not about bringing in new things. It's the eclipse. Yes, it's the new moon. But it's about embracing the fact that when we don't know what to do, stop. Pause, allow what is no longer needed to flow out of us so something new can come in. How many times do we not see our growth collectively? How many times do we, in the times of uncertainty, become bored, disconnected, disenchanted, and start bringing in other things? Can we give ourselves the permission and the responsibility to pause when we're not sure, rather than react the same scenarios? You know, the brain is so busy, as we know, all the time, that when anything comes in, 9 times out of 10, we're filling in the gaps based on previous behaviours. What if we just allowed that to expand, that gap to expand, just like the eclipse, to have those pauses? Then we can allow new information to come in, new ideas. We can be more innovative with what may seem repetitive. Underneath it, we have the shaman, but the shaman again is reversed. Okay, so how connected are we to this wisdom within us? How connected are we to the lessons that we've been through? How connected are we to the experience that we have gained? Okay, energies this week. Don't get too lost in the information that is available, because it is going to be repetitive. Bring it back to the here and now. And that's where I feel apprehension in the root chakra, because if we got through all of the this is going on, that's going on, and let go of the shame, the guilt, the fear, underneath it all, right in the root chakra is an incredible, intense, orgasmic, beautiful energy trying to come up. But it's fighting within us all. Star card. Underneath the bottom of the pack, the star card. Allowing that energy to come up from the earth. I'm trying to think when the next portal is, and that's quite indicative of itself. It feels like it's so far away. But it isn't, right? It's the 4th of April, but acknowledging that they're in every moment, along with the vision, along with what we're trying to achieve, that's in every moment. Taking this time this week to ensure every second that you can, what you're doing is aligned to the vision that you have for what it is you're trying to create. Yes, that isn't always easy. Yes, we can be distracted. Yes, it's something that we don't already know. Okay, so how strong are we with that? Remember, the muscle has memory. The soul muscle has memory. Can we keep coming back? Keep coming back. Keep coming back into the center. Keep coming back into the heart. It's going to get harder as we go into the eclipse. It's a great opportunity to train in that. Okay. was very tempted then to feel into the reasons why we may be being trained, very tempted to feel into a lot of different stuff that really doesn't matter. And what I can hear is you're not yourself when you're hungry. The soul is hungry. The soul is hungry for more experiences than what our human mind, ego is. Obviously the soul is part of, the ego is part of the soul as well, but what our need to logically understand is limiting the soul from feeding. And it's hungry. It wants something different. Okay. Energies this week and how to best navigate them. Underneath it, we do have the 5 of fire, which is stress. This is that conflict. But we also have, you can't quite see it in the background, just slipping out is the star again. Recognizing where we're in conflict with our own vision. Where we are fighting the necessary chaos required. Stories, ways of being, ways of manifesting, ways of creating, ways of controlling ourselves, and the war that is actually producing within us in regards to what we're trying to achieve. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, move them along. Sunday, overall. Come Saturday, there is a chance to move things along, but it may not be until then. There is a lot that needs to slot into place over the next few weeks. Particularly this week, the beginning of this week, we're going to be shown those insights. So the 2 cards that have come out at the beginning of the pack are the cards that came out for today's daily guidance. And it was very much about seeing ourselves, about recognizing that everything that has occurred has been a vision quest, an opportunity to look at where we don't see ourselves. We know we can only create from the vision that we have of our capabilities. If something isn't working, or something isn't changing, where in that do we see ourselves? How do we see ourselves in that? Do we believe in ourselves? Do we believe we are capable of creating the change that we wish to see? It isn't until the end of the week that we get the final card that was in today's guidance, which is the Grandmother or Empress. That's where I feel quite dizzy on the Sunday. That's where I feel as if the heart is almost caving in. That's where I feel as if it's not about expansion and this is me, blah, 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 blah. But it's about almost closing in and connecting to our body and connecting to the earth. Being held by our vision, being held by ourselves. Again, acknowledging what stories are yours as well, because I could feel a lot coming up with the inner child, but also very, very aware they were mine. This week it's really important, if we're not to get caught up in the mishmash of individual and collective. It's not to say that they're not one and the same, but how easy it is to solve the world's problems instead of focusing on our own, right? This week really coming back to the self, really coming back to what is going on for us. I'm a great believer in, particularly if we're feeling low or we don't know what to do, helping others. A great believer in that. But there's a fine line between doing that and avoidance this week. We can often get insight and healing and reflection that we need in order to move forward. So recognize that's what we're doing. Otherwise it feels as if there's a little bit of hierarchy that could potentially occur this week. I'm helping this person, you're helping yourself as well. Becoming one with that cycle. It's a community. It's about working as a community with each other from the same level. Okay, overall this week we have the 9 of water, we have joy. Now I feel as if I want to add something to that, but when I look at the card, she is just walking through a flow of water, navigating her own path, moving through without fighting, not being distracted by the numerous vessels here of creativity, of love, of emotion, but knowing that they all come from one anyway, and connecting to that rather than everything that holds that in place. Some of the stories that we struggle to expand beyond are very positive ones as well. They're very positive ones as well. Much as they're enough to satisfy the human heart, the soul wants us to remember where they all came from. The soul wants us to remember what's underneath it all. So again, going back to the analogy of my own invisibility wound, or not being seen, or not being heard, not being recognized. Yes, I've built a lot upon that. I've learned a lot from that. But if I don't return to what was there before, it's just knowledge. It's not wisdom. That's not downplaying the knowledge that has been gained, but there's so much more to be received by reconnecting to what has always been there. Too often we separate ourselves, our little things of joy. This is my family, this is this is that, and we forget who we are within the process. Too often we compartmentalize parts of ourselves, different roles, different identities, different ways of being, but what's the energy that runs through it? Recenter to that as much as you can this week. On the Monday we have the Hanged Man. In this deck it's called the Vision Quest, and this reminds me of that kestrel that I saw. Okay, so not worshipping the signs, acknowledging that they come from our perspective, they are a communication with the universe, but communication is a two-way process. What are you actually seeing? What would you like to see? And is this in alignment? Have you limited the translation? Are you expanding upon that? This week, part of the Vision Quest, the more we can grow in how we see things, yes, it can get a bit trippy, and I totally recommend coming back to focus every opportunity. This is about opening the shamanic senses within us, so yes, it can get a bit trippy. Well, that can mean that, and that can mean that, and that, and yes, we will be very aware on a mindset level of the different interpretations of everything that's going on. We talk about rabbit holes. This is kind of like a rabbit hole, but in the universe. Okay, so being very mindful of that, but acknowledging it's limitless. That's the whole point of all these signs and synchronicities. That's the whole point of the subconscious. That's the whole point of tapping into that wisdom, is to recognize it's limitless, so that we, as part of it, can acknowledge that we're limitless too. The Hanged Man, the Vision Quest, is all about seeing everything from a different perspective, ourselves included. To do that, we're going to be shown where we've been holding back. To do that, we may find a bit of conflict in what we see outside and what we feel inside, because it's about finding that harmony and that balance. I love to go on quests of just going for a walk, universe, show me. But there comes a time when I also have to go, right, I need to come back to normal life. Keeping that balance and that harmony. See the signs. Don't get lost in them. On the Tuesday, that brings the Daughter of Fire. On the Tuesday, it is a great time for ceremony, but more importantly, it's a wonderful time to look at any traditions and ceremonies that may have become customary. One of the things for the blog is to look at customs where they have held us back, where they have actually limited us, particularly beliefs that have been handed down to us, particularly expectations of who we are. Because again, on the Tuesday, it's an opportunity to look at where we're creating as a result. With the Daughter of Fire, handing things over that we're not quite sure of, but waiting for that answer inside. We can be aware. That brings that to light. What am I feeling in my body, and what actions are required, if any, as a result? Be part of the cycle. Not separate and just an observer. Recognize that you're observing with your whole body, but that part of that observation is communication also, in how you choose to act or react as a result. On the Wednesday, this is what it's all leading up to. We have the Magician, which is the Medicine Man. Recognizing you are the channel for whatever is coming through. Excuse me. Acknowledging your role in that, and that is going to be different for everybody. Attractive. Know that what you're feeling, yes, it has relevance with what's going on for you. Yes, it has relevance with what's going on collectively. Allow it to move through you. Have peace with that. Allow it to move through you in whatever way helps you do that. So for me, it's dancing. For others, it can be writing. For others, it can be just sat sometimes this weekend rocking backwards and forwards, thinking I just can't do this anymore. All the time it's actually still happening. But give yourself time for these things to shift. A way to make it easier is to not get caught up in trying to figure things out. Remember, a lot of the times we react, particularly if it's in conflict, the biggest conflict is we are reacting from our past. Okay, that's the biggest conflict, and our body is unsure of what's actually going on because we're reacting from there, but we're actually here and we want to get to there. So again, coming back to the present moment, recognizing in that present moment, like the infinity, it runs through us. Our past and our future shifts and changes as a result on the Wednesday. On the Thursday, we have the Strength card. In this deck, the Strength card is in the space of Justice, which is where they used to be originally. And that feels quite important, that we're coming full circle by the Thursday to a place where we've always been. Yes, with everything going retrograde, we can almost feel as if we've not known our ass from our elbow. But the truth is, leading up until this point, we've been confused with who we are. What's actually coming back round is a recognition of who we've always been. Again, the example of the unseen wound within me, going into the stillness and the invisibility of not being seen. That's who I've always been. I've just done what I need to do to survive in the environments I've found myself in. And this week we may find ourselves finally letting that go. Now with that, of course, there's a lot of sayings that I see that when you finally start to heal your body, it feels very tired. It feels very drained. It feels very wiped out because it's going into a moment of letting go. Too often we try and heal and shift things like trauma overnight. Too often we want it to be quite, instantaneous. We'll take this, we want a quick fix to things. Come the Thursday, we're going to see how long this has been going on. I want to say dragged out, but how long this has been going on, at times where that has been necessary in order to make the process safe for the body. We can want something and want something and want something, but until we feel safe and able within our own animal instincts, within our own wild, trying to force that is just going to drain our life force, which is the card that we have on the Thursday. Life force, balance, harmony. There is no rush. Work with this wild energy. Work with this feminine. Again, not related to any gender. Work with this creative force that is you. Don't fight it. Don't hunt it. Don't try and tame it. Work with it. On the Friday, we then have the other side of the coin, which is balance, which is ironically in this place of strength. So come the Friday, we will see a different perspective of that wild if we can allow that to bring the harmony. So when we feel as if we want to run, sometimes when we feel as if it's too much and we're in that fight or flight, we are guided to breathe through and to placate that. Run, go for a walk, go for a dance. If your body wants the energy to move, then move. If you feel as if you want to fawn or freeze, obviously not in an unsafe situation, I'm not suggesting that. But if some of the reactions come up, oh, I'm fawning, that's what I always do. Okay, so go and find a safe environment to do whatever it is you need to do. And if that is to freeze for a moment. We get too caught up in our fight or flight reactions being the bad guy. They are our animalistic instinct that says this is what I need to do to stay safe. Our logical explanation of that has caused not only a headache, a misinterpretation of how we see things, ourselves included as humans, but also our wild energy, which is the feminine. It's not about letting the fight or flight reactions take over, but it's not about suppressing them either. And on the Friday, we're going to see the other side of that. We're going to see where by acknowledging what our body needs, being present with that, working with that life force, we restore balance. From that perspective, obviously it's the Justice card. So from that perspective, I'm not saying by restoring balance on the Friday, everything in your life is going to sort itself out. But you'll be able to see it from a different perspective. You'll be able to have more clarity. You'll be able to have more alignment and divine connection. So it may not be that it sorts itself out, but you will get a more innovative way to see how to figure your next steps forward. That's on the solar eclipse leading into the solar eclipse. On the Saturday, we then have the Three of Growth. So really intense week with major arcanas this week. Come the Saturday, we have growth. We have the Three of Earth. And here we're being shown that things are only just starting to break through. We're only just starting to break through. It may feel as if it's gone on for ages, but hand on heart, time for some authentic honesty. How long have things been different, really? We can get we can get so caught up in, we've been doing this for X amount of years, but actually if nothing's changed, we haven't been doing anything different. We've been doing the same thing. So it's very difficult to get impatient with something that hasn't actually shifted. Come the Saturday, we're going to feel the growth. Come the Saturday, we're going to see where we have broken through and to work with those areas rather than all the times that it hasn't, rather than all the times we've been waiting, rather than all the reasons why things haven't occurred. If we want that growth, if we want that breakthrough, focusing on what has changed, what has shifted within us and allowing that to take the lead now. On the Sunday, we have the Empress. On the Sunday, that's going to bring more harmony in what we're receiving and what we're giving as a result. And in that, we're going to feel more held in our creative ability. That's what it's all about. As we lead into 2026, acknowledging it's not about fighting our creative force, whether that's sexuality, sensuality, whether that's creativity. You know, the amount of people that say they're not creative, they can't paint, they can't write. It's not about fighting that force within us, but allowing it bit by bit at a rate that is comfortable for you, freedom to be expressed in different ways. Creativity's grown. Have we as a vessel? That's what we're going to face this week. Okay, so, and that's the Five of Fire. That's the stress. That's what we call stress. That's the chaos, the conflict, all born from a need to control. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 major arcanas. The turning point is coming from the major arcanas. Equally, it's also going to be the halfway mark. The universe is going to show us where we are stagnant. And we can either see that as a vision quest, as an opportunity to reconnect to our power, to bring back the life force that has always been within us, restore balance and create something different. Or we can see that as a sacrificial, having no say in it, draining ourselves, chaotic, disconnected journey. It's entirely up to us. The universe here with the vision quest, the hanged man, the medicine man, the life force, the balance and the grandmother. There's a wonderful opportunity here to allow the elder within us all to rise. We never see that, right? We never see the inner wild or the dark feminine or the inner child as part of the elder. We always assume that the elder is someone that's very stoic or very wise, very controlled, very centered, very allowing a different version of the elder to come through this week. Allowing that fun, allowing that joy, allowing that light, allowing that I'm being drawn to look at the mountain behind the life force here. It's not a mountain, it's like a geyser. It's like a allowing that energy to come up now. For me, it gets trapped in my heart because I have a problem with expressing the elder that's trying to come through. You'll find where it's blocked because it will feel uncomfortable this week. Allow that to rise. Allow it to clear. Allow it to shift. Yes, it's going to change the way you see things, yourself included. Yes, it's going to bring forth reactions and outcomes that you may not have planned. Yes, it's going to affect the energy that you have. We're eclipses. 1 minute you're going to be high, next minute you're going to be low, because it's about keeping that balance, having responsibility for that. Yes, it's going to reunite you with yourself, potentially with others as well, that have known this energy for some time, provided you cannot fight it. but also acknowledging that the fight may very well be part of the change. You know, conflict eventually will turn into chaos, and chaos eventually will right itself. On a minor arcana level, we have 1 cup card, 1 fire card, 1 earth card. Oh, 2 fire cards, sorry. Let's just turn that one up the right way. The cards underneath it that are upside down were the 9 of Pentacles and the 9 of Air, or the 9 of Swords, accumulation and hurt. Underneath it all, what are we growing from? Are we growing from an accumulation of all the wounds that we have received? Are we growing from an accumulation of the abundance as a result? That is a choice, and that is where we're feeling conflict. For many, myself included, it can be the very war, the fight for independence, for a better way that keeps us going, but that's still based on the wounds. Feeling into that, are we really aligning with what it is we are trying to achieve, or are we in conflict with that? Are we stressing ourselves with that? How tight are we holding on to our own inner tensions? This week, again, we have 4 minor arcanas. We have 2 wand cards, 1 cup card, 1 earth card. No sword cards this week. So there's no mental clarity coming through. There's no mental energy coming through this week, because we are at a precipice of growth that can only come from recognizing how we see ourselves, how we communicate with the universe, how connected we are to our own soul's potential here, and how much joy that brings us, or not, as the case may be. The wand card underneath that, it is an opportunity to take anything that we feel frustrated with and change it and shift it, but that takes honesty. What, or rather who, are we frustrated with? 1 card this week overall, because we're 40, oh, that was 46 then, 46 minutes in. What I'm hearing is, what is it we're hoping to gain? What is it that we actually want? That's the biggest conflict that a lot of people are finding themselves in. Being honest with what you want. Being honest, to be honest with what you want is to be honest with who you are. To have guilt, shame, judgment on what we want is to have guilt and shame and judgment on who we are. Be aware of our own narrative and our own passion behind that, because what I feel drawn to get on my soap wagon and be like, and then we're in conflict and guilt and shame with the earth. Okay, but yeah, let's just don't get caught up in the bigger revolution behind it. Bring it back to the self. Start with where the war is, which is internally. 1 card this week, and how to best. And that's where I feel a sense of just let go. Yeah. So we're at the 7 of Cups, which is excess, and back to the 5 of Earth, which is that insecurity card. Just let go of all the things that we are holding on to. The oh, I need to say what it is I'm receiving, and that can be quite difficult this week, particularly if we're worried about how it's going to come across. Remember, people will only see the light that they're capable of seeing. They'll only see things, not only, they will see things from where they are, and that deserves respect also. So I mean no offense with this, but the guidance that is coming through is emotionally, physically, to let go. Now that, I need to stop there. I was going to add lots of reasons to try and make that a softer energy. There is potential this week to let go. There is insecurity that comes with that, because there is a longing to hold on to the excess. And it's the excess that is breaking us open. It is the excess that is making us unable to receive and hold the love that is there. It is the excess that is preventing the abundance that is available. Ultimately, it's the excess that will change the situation as well. And by excess, I mean excess in lessons, excess in wounds. I mean excess in anything that has brought us insecurity this week. Let it go. Underneath it all, we have the 2 of Cups, and back to that life force card. We have the 2 of Cups, or 2 of Water, which is love. Reconnect. Reconnect to the love in your relationships. Reconnect to the love that is within you. Reconnect to the love of the earth. Reconnect to the love of who you are. It's that that's going to bring back the life force, and it's that that's going to help us to just let go of anything that isn't that. Intense week. Take it easy, take care of yourself. As I say, the song for this week is The Final Countdown. Know that you're doing the best that you can in any moment, this video included. Let the rest sort itself out. Take care, and I shall see you post eclipse.